you guys so much for being here today. This supports everyone. You know, we're not going to see each other soon. We would all be in the pit together at a helmet show. So the fact that we can't all be in a pit together at a helmet show, God, this feels so good. So this is so exciting. I'm excited to hear you guys talk to Paige. It's really fun. He always sits at the stage. He always sits at the end of the stage and hangs out and talks to everyone who wants to at the end of a show. So this is his opportunity to do that. He misses it just as much as we do. So let's get started. So with our, so we have Brigham, Micah and Richards. I don't know if,
do you have to unmute them?
You guys right there, right?
Yeah. Do you guys have to unmute your mic?
Harry's got it. He's on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Harry's our guy. There we go.
Hey. All right.
Sorry, I was talking to Katie. What was are we ready to unmute anybody or?
Yeah, so we're starting. It says Brigham Richards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's unmuted and ready to go.
All right, I'm ready to go. Well, hey, I'm very excited to see you, Paige. First tour has to have Salt Lake in it. And random question, but I know I love the rock stuff, but I also love that you're scoring movies. And I wonder what that's like and like what, I know it's a huge question.
Yeah.
But you get the movie, like, what do you do? What, I don't understand it.
I actually,
you know, what's your thing?
Yeah, you know, it started a long time ago with this movie Heat, right? Where I was hired as a guitar player. And this guy, I was talking about him earlier today, named Tim Carr, was an A&R guy at Warner Brothers that tried to sign Helmet when we went through that bidding war. He lost out to Jimmy Iovine in Interscope, but he said he had this movie called Heat that Warner Brothers was doing. And the composer, this guy, Elliot Goldenfeld, said, hey, I want to meet this Page Hamilton guy because he does this weird guitar shit. And so I met Elliot and ended up playing guitar on that movie, the De Niro Pacino thing. And Elliot was like, God, you have this kind of orchestral approach to the instrument that's very different and unique. You should score movies. So coincidentally, about that time, I got a scoring gig. And I just finished a movie called Painted Beauty that was shot in Hong Kong. With a director named Rob Pryor, who's an amazing artist. He was actually, I just scored a short film that he did like 10 years ago. And he said, one day we're going to do a feature. So now we did this feature called Painted Beauty with Claire Holt and Clifton Collins Jr. and Barb Pally are the main actors. And we have 3 more movies lined up, but they're not shooting them right now because of COVID. This movie had fortunately been finished before COVID hit, so we got to work on it over the summer and finish it. But it's just I look at everything as music, you know. I mean, I obviously have a bachelor's degree in classical and jazz guitar and a master's degree in jazz guitar, and I studied composition and all that stuff with Jack Smalley here at USC, and. But I love playing heavy music, and I love jazz, and I love classical music, and it's all intertwined. I've been doing these guitar lessons, right? And I try to explain to people, like, what I want you to do is learn the vocabulary, musical vocabulary, and develop your own style. Not like, we're gonna sound, I know you want to sound like Steve Vai, but this is how Steve Vai probably got to, whatever it is. If you want to sound like me, which would be crazy, but
of course.
it's really fun, man. But you're sitting down and you're looking at a movie. You're not writing a song about something that's an emotional experience that you had. It's like there's these people on a screen acting, and I did 5 or 6 movies with kind of B movies that were with a cast of actors and actresses that were not great, and the director said, he's really bad in this scene, so we need the music to take over. So you're like, okay. But this last movie I did, where the acting was amazing, and obviously playing guitar on a De Niro Pacino, and I did I can't even think. I did Titus with, Anthony Hopkins and Jessica Lange. I did the Good Thief. I did Helen Mirren was in one of the movies that I played on as a hired gun guitar player. So these are all just kind of different gigs that are really fun, and I like it. So it's the session stuff is you're going in and you're working with the composer, and the director has to say, like, there's these movies. The biggest movie on Netflix was called Kissing Booth, and I all the guitar in there, you would think it's this teen comedy pop stuff, but this old fucking metalhead dude is playing fucking Kissing Booth. The 14-year-old.
Exactly what I thought you'd be doing.
Yeah, it's so funny, and it's a super challenge because it's like it's not in my wheelhouse necessarily, like to play. And they're like, we got this Ramones song, but we can't afford it, so we need a Ramones kind of vibe. Like, I love the Ramones. I can come up with something, or so that's a session kind of gig, but then scoring is a whole different thing, because I have all these keyboards. I have an orchestral library, and so most of the stuff is written over on the keyboard, and the guitar is just color and flavor for me, so and I also have because I have such a strange background, like I'm educated, but I like noise and feedback, and I like heavy, aggressive music. These things all kind of play into what I write for movies. So it's fun. It's really fun, man. So The Painted Beauty is great. When it comes out, you guys should check it out. It's creepy, man. It's the other thing I will say, when I get hired for a movie, I always hire another composer that's an orchestra expert kind of person, because I have written for orchestras, but it's not my area of expertise. And I say anything might be a cop out, but anything that's romantic, they're holding hands, they're kissing, whatever, I'm like, that's you. if they're chopping their head off and they're getting chased, that's me. Okay, I get that stuff. You get the mushy emotion. Because I know what I'm good at, right? And it's like I was doing this movie, and they were holding hands across the table, and I was like, I want to do moose farts. Is that cool? It's just like, oh, I love you, and I was just like. Just like, I just can't do it, man. It's not my, I'm a cynical divorced guy, so
everybody's got their thing.
Yeah. You know your strengths, man. Like, just know what you're good at.
Right.
Got action, tension, action, scary. I'm gonna write something really cool for it. So yeah.
What about you, Micah? Micah, right? To the right?
Yeah, it's Micah. I was just curious, like, my favorite song is Pure. I was just curious if you had a favorite song, or one that you especially
That's
like.
funny. A guy from Connecticut in the last hour, that was his favorite song. I'm doing a lyric sheet for him for Pure. And that was a riff. We were before I did Aftertaste, we were, I'm friends with Butch Vig, who produced Nirvana Nevermind, and we did a song with him for the Crow soundtrack called Milquetoast. And we also did a song for the Led Zeppelin tribute album, Encomium, with my good friend David Yao from the Jesus Lizard, and Butch. And so I was playing Butch some stuff. I used to record on a DA-88, those 8-track DA-88s. And I would just I set up a hi-hat, and I just groove, and I just play riffs, and then I'll just forget about it. And I was going through these tapes, and I had this riff. Butch was like, that riff, what the? He's like, fuck, that is so cool. It's like, and he's like, write something with that. And so I did. And I came up with Pure. And the idea for that, there were a couple of things. The structure, his Helmet, kind of one of the things about Helmet is we do use classic song structures, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. But we also have a couple of song structures that are unique to us. One of them would be the unsung song structure, which is verse, chorus, then what the hell is going on? This transfer chord changes that takes you. And Sinatra is another structure that's very unique, and it's like build tension. So it's like quiet, loud, and then the chord changes come. So the structure that I used for Pure was based on the Sinatra structure that I had come up with a couple of years earlier. So I look at things, one of my great mentors said, music is melody, harmony, rhythm, form, the structure, and text, the words. And so those were kind of interesting. Pure was a really fun song to write. So those chords that are happening, I'm superimposing. Part of the things I'm doing with my lessons, a lot of the people are obviously that are students now are Helmet fans, and they're like, can you teach me this song? And I'm like, yeah, I'll teach you Role Model or Give It, or Pure is one of them. And then I go in and kind of reverse engineer, analyze what I was doing. So those chords structures come from superimposing the chords, over other chords. So it's a kind of simple way to describe it. If you play or don't play or whatever, it's fun. It's really fun. I love playing that song. We did it on French TV for the first time. And that was when we were in, touring in Europe when that album came out in '97, and it's really fun. That was our single because it's so accessible. Helmet, we were laughing about that earlier on the earlier session, that Helmet was never meant to be a mainstream band, and the fact that we got played on MTV and that it's like they told us, like on Letterman and Leno, they were like, God, we have all these people here that are fans, but you guys are just too aggressive for TV. And then, like, I'm not kidding you, 2 years later, they've got like Rage Against the Machine and not Orgy, what's that band with the makeup, Cradle of Filth or something, like, are on TV. They're, it's like, that's we were always kind of a little bit.
A lot of people owe you, Paige.
Very much so.
But hey, people have been amazing. Like, I've been feel so privileged that so many amazing musicians, including people I grew up listening to from Bowie and Elton John and Gene Simmons and Neil Young, have said that they love and have seen us play, and then bands like as Korn, System of a Down, and Limp Bizkit and the Deftones, they speak. And one of my favorites ever of all time was Dimebag, when he said, I told you were going to influence me. And I was like, man, that guy ripped. I mean, he was awesome. We had so much fun together. Like, we actually sat in the parking lot at Trees in Dallas after they saw Helmet. I saw them for the first time on Cowboys for Hill. They were opening for Prong. Wow. We were opening for the Melvins in a small room in Minneapolis, a place called 7th Street Entry at First Avenue. And I saw Mind Over 4 played first, and then Pantera, and I was like, what the like, wow. So then we played after them in the small room. And I said, I don't know if you guys saw that band Pantera, but holy shit. And I heard this thanks. I looked down, the band's in front of me, and they bought everything, cassette tapes, drumsticks, whatever. And so we get to Dallas, and they're working on Vulgar, and they're playing his songs in the parking lot. And they're like, man, you guys changed the way we think about riffs. And I was like, this is awesome. I knew it was going to be awesome. But Dime said, man, you were a huge influence. And that means so much when somebody that's at that level that plays that great. And we that night we had some friends with us, and we drank. They were very excited that I liked Wild Turkey and Budweiser, so I ended up getting a hotel room and staying. And the tour bus took off and drove to Houston, and I got a flight the next day because we just partied till the cows came home. We had a blast.
Excellent choice.
Yeah, I'm always so honored when musicians that tell me that they got turned on by us. It's really cool. It's a cool thing. You did something. So.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I bet you hear that a lot.
Cheers, Dime.
Yeah, cheers. Great questions, guys. So that wraps it up. So let's mute them and move on to the next one. We've got.
Hey, thanks so much, Paige. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Why don't you go ahead and sign their autographs for them real quick?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which?
Because you'll have Brigham and Micah both.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there inscriptions? I have Ask During VIP and Helmet Rocks. I don't have names on any of them.
Okay, so Brigham's is going to be Micah, You're My Hero, or Micah's is Micah, You're My Hero.
That's actually Micah's.
Yeah,
Micah.
exactly. Brigham didn't put one down, but whatever you want to have him put, just go ahead and tell him.
Yeah.
Is there a card, a post-it thing on here? So I got Helmet Rocks. I got Ask During the VIP. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Got it. Okay.
Can you hold
Cool.
up the pictures? So let's make sure we've got the,
The right one? Is this, so this would be Brigham, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I'm gonna do it in silver because the gold doesn't show up as well.
good idea.
Thank you.
Nice.
Aaron.
I'm gonna sign when I first met David Bowie at a festival in Schuttorf, Germany, and I knew we were going to be playing with him, and I had a copy of Hunky Dory in my back pocket, the CD cover, and Reeves Gabrels, his guitar player at the time, was a friend of mine, and so and he knew that I wanted to just get a signature, so I'm going to write what Bowie wrote. I'm not going to put my wife's name on it because it was like all my best, four-page in the ocean. But I'm going to write that because it always stuck with me as really cool. So all my that's from David
Love
Bowie.
That's awesome. That's a good story too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and 2 years later, he called me after an all-night bender and asked me to play lead guitar with him, which was pretty amazing. So
Really?
yeah,
Nice.
I had left my wife at that time and was crashing in my manager's futon, and I got home. I got home at like 4 p.m. and from the night before, and there's messages, and he's like, "What are you doing? David Bowie's trying to reach you." And I was like, "Yeah, right, whatever." And he's like, "No," and he's like, "Can you be home?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, but I was gonna quit smoking that day, so I said, "Let me go get a pack of cigarettes, and I'll be right back at 5. Have him call me at 5, and he did. And there we go. So I got to play with him. And
Nice.
Mike
So did you make it? Did you play?
I did the Hours tour. Yeah, I had learned 30 Bowie songs in 2 weeks, and the first live concert we did TV, SNL, Conan, Rosie, all those shows, but the first live concert we did was Wembley Stadium. My hometown, Medford, Oregon, was about, when I grew up there, 30,000 people. Wembley holds like 85,000, and it was the netted concert, so 1 billion people were going to see it. And Princess Di was in a booth. And on my side of the stage, like I could have reached out and touched him. Mick Jagger was standing there, probably going like, "Who's this heavy metal dipshit?"
Micah's should have posted a card that says, "Micah, you are my hero."
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
But I'm writing to Micah though, right?
Yeah. That one's for Micah.
Okay.
I was buying that for
he's
Mike
not-
and had to think of something page. So, you know.
Micah's not Brigham's hero. And then as soon as we're done there, Philip, you'll be up next, and I'll unmute you. And we've got roughly about 15-20 minutes left, so we'll have to budget the last 3 here about 4 or 5 minutes piece.
Oh, I'm sorry, I rambled. So hold that up.
You're good.
Good.
Your rambling is fun to listen to.
That's so good.
Perfect.
That's
I know. How do you stop someone talking about Pantera? And
Yeah, exactly.
Older,
Dime's one of my favorites.
yeah, I was like, time, but how do you stop that?
Awesome. All right. I'm going to go ahead and throw Brigham and Micah on mute, and I'm going to unmute Philip. So,
Hey, thanks again, Paige.
yeah, you guys. Nice to meet you, man. Thank you so much for being
You
here.
too.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
You too.
So Philip, which
Okay,
one is you? Where's Philip at?
I'm this
Philip's
one.
down on the bottom left.
Philip,
Oh,
hey,
wait,
Philip.
I got him.
How's it
I'm
going?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great too. Thank you. Hanging in there. Interesting
Awesome, man.
times.
Awesome.
Crazy
Well, first off,
times.
thank you for this. This is amazing. I really appreciate your time. This is so rad of you to do. So
Yeah, man,
thanks
it's
for that, dude.
my pleasure. Thank Chris and Harry and Morgan. I think Morgan's involved too. This is really good, awesome. I have so much fun. I'm just, as Ashley said, I really miss playing and miss doing this after every show and hanging. And usually I do pictures and we tell stories back and forth. And so this is kind of nice. I don't feel like a single pathetic lonely loser today.
Right on, man. Well, we miss you too, and when we all get back to it, we'll be out. We'll do it again. So
Can't wait. Yeah.
I know we're pressed for time. I'll make this kind of short. Longtime fan of Helmet, longtime fan of you. I developed kind of my liking for Helmet back in the day. I'm a little bit older, so the early years. I've always really liked you guys all the way through the current years, obviously. But there's always been this mystique about kind of like early years, not only just Helmet, but like kind of like early 90s New York. And I guess my question kind of is like, I know you guys, but back in the day, you guys you're heavy music, but you're not straight thrash. You're heavy music, but you're not, hardcore. What type of bands were you playing with back in the days, in those club days in New York? What was the scene like? Who were you playing with? And was there kind of camaraderie between all those? Because you kind of fit in all those kind of stages too. So
yeah,
paint me a little bit of a picture of that.
very good question. We back then, John Stanier and I, we'd say there's no scene in New York. Everybody's like, oh, there's a scene in New York, and I look back now and I go, wow, it was an amazing scene in New York because you could walk, 2 blocks and there'd be CBGB's, Lismar Lounge, Pyramid Club, Fez. There were, literally every other block. It felt like there was a place to play. So we ended up, I took the buzz from Melvin's stance that we will play with anyone, anywhere, anytime. I don't care what the genre is. I don't care what you want to call us. We've done metal festivals with Kiss and Sabbath and Manson and Motley Crue. We've done the punk rock tour on the Warped Tour with Thursday and a band, the something 30 Seconds to Mars or whatever that, actors is. We play with anyone. We've toured with Korn, and we've toured with Faith No More and Ministry, and we've toured with, we did shows with Nirvana. And so the back then there was kind of a New York downtown sound thing, a little bit noisy guitars like Sonic Youth, Rat It Rat Our, Live Skull, Honeymoon Killers. And I loved all that music, but what I was missing in New York at the time was the kind of punch in the face and the funk. Like I feel like those bands were kind of playing a wall of sound, and I needed some. I worship AC/DC. Like to me, that's one of the greatest bands in the history of music, and they're funky, man. It just feels really percussive and great and groovy, and it wasn't until I was walking home one night and I got the first riff in my head for repetition from Strap It On that I got out of, if you're playing standard tuning in rock, everything felt like AC/DC. I'm like, God, it's so good. It just and I got this riff in my head, and I got home at 4 in the morning and I had to detune the guitar because I heard a D note. It was going below the low E.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the whole fretboard opened up and all this stuff started coming out. And so we had that influence of my early, my childhood music, which would have been like, Zepp, Aerosmith, AC/DC and stuff. Yeah. And then I got into Sabbath a little later. And then I heard jazz. And then when I got to New York, it was all this noise stuff and Glenn Branca. And I ended up playing on Glenn Branca's orchestra as well.
Yeah. Nice.
So he was a huge influence on me. So these detuned, weird tunings, and he had the charts. He used to not use standard notation. He'd write a staircase with a 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, and these rhythmic things started in impacting me. And I'd be on the subway, and I was the nerd that was always like, okay, 3 against 4, left hands and 2. It's like, and just like, and I think I had like a rat tail because I lived in a welfare hotel, and that was the look in New York in 1986 or whatever. And I never had shoulder pads, but
good.
But yeah, there was a very good scene back then, and I just did a show called the New York Hardcore Chronicles So, and I was incredible. This is just fortuitous and fortunate, but I'm episode 69, so you can't forget that.
Right on. I'll check it out.
Yeah, so check it. It's a very good interview. Those guys did a lot of research, and they were so it was that interview was very much about the old days. And I'm not
Cool.
like, yeah, well, back in 1988 when I saw GGL and whatever. But it's all that stuff affects you, and living in New York, it had a huge impact on our music, and certainly me as a writer, so.
Awesome, man. That's right. Yeah. Thank you. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I'll check out the episode too.
Yeah. Which photo?
I think the one you had held up just a few minutes ago. I think that was the one I grabbed.
Yeah, and it says you shouldn't have sold the ESP.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Okay. When I wrote that, I was a few drinks into the night, so we can. Quick story of that is my first real guitar. I always loved Page's ESP. I never had money growing up. Got a what to buy a guitar with my dad. They tried to sell me a cheap one. I really wanted the good one. So the guy sold me the cheap one. They walked out with the cool one. It was the ESP. My dad went behind the door, sold it, and got the Page ESP. And I loved it for years. Got in a band, and like a sucker, I sold it, and I kicked myself.
Oh
man, yeah. Yeah, I know. The moment I handed it over, I got in the car. I was like, "What did I just do?" So anyway, that's what that was. The Bowie quote's cool. Or give me Micah's quote. I'll take any of those. That sound great.
Okay, right I'm writing that on there. It's cool.
All right, Christian, you're going to be next. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and Philip, thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks, Paige.
Here in a second, and Paige will hold up your photo when he's done there, and then I'm going to unmute Christian.
It says gold, but gold, I'm going to write my signature in silver because it stands out better.
Cool. Yeah, so that's perfect.
Cool. Thanks, Harry. Can you guys hear me? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Along those lines, every time I've ever sold a guitar, I've always regretted it, and always, it sucks. It's just like I got divorced. I need the money, and then I'm like, no, I want my Telecaster back.
Oh, rad. Awesome, man. That's killer. Thank you so much.
Cool. You bet, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
So, Christian, you guys, you've touched on some of my I had a list of questions here. I didn't know I was relegated to one. So like Churchill said, it's going to be really hard for me to distill this down into one question, but I'm going to try.
Well, as you've already seen, I ramble, so.
Yeah, well, so do I. So, but Michael Mann, let me just a couple non sequiturs before I ask my question. Michael Mann's definitely one of my favorite directors. So, props to Heat. Love jazz, baseball fanatic. I was at your 1993 show with Jesus Lizard in Fort Lauderdale. So that was a pretty good show.
Is that the one where I passed out from heat and had to go outside for 20 minutes and come back in?
I don't know, maybe. It was hot as balls, and I remember I was sweating my ass off. And my art gal, I used to have be in the art business, and used to curate and rep artists, and I used to rep Lee Ronaldo. So I wanted, that kind of touches on what I was going. I really wanted to hear more about your time with Glenn Branca and how you got into Band of Susans, because I was just listening to some of the Band of Susan stuff, and on that song Pursuit of Happiness, it sounds like a real bridge between the time in Branca's ensemble up to Helmet. In that song.
There's a whole conversation around Band of Susans, Glenn Branca, as well as Reese Chatham. I'm one of the few. I think I'm one of two guitar players that played with Glenn and Reese, and there was this weird feud between the two of them. And Glenn was like, Reese is a fantastic composer. He's an asshole of a human being. And I was just like, and it was funny. And when I left Band of Susans, they ended up letting me. They were like, you can't play with Reese anymore, because the Band of Susans camp was with Reese, and the Sonic Youth camp was with Glenn. And there was this weird New York drama. I wasn't part of it. I was just like, I love everybody. I love your music. I love your music, and it's all drama bullshit. I just can't get down with it, with any of the hate. But Michael Mann, I did Heat, and 10 years later I did Collateral, and he remembered me, and I was like, and I'm like, you remember me? He's like, Heat. He said that guitar was amazing. I was shocked, And I have a funny story about him. When we were doing Heat, they'd flown us out from New York, and we worked at Todd A.O.'s Scoring, this amazing scoring studio where they had orchestra. The way they used to do it, it had a giant movie screen. The orchestra would sit there, they would play, the white stripe goes past, the conductor starts the cue. Well, there was this cue where Pacino is in a helicopter tracking De Niro, right?
Yep.
And Elliot had this piece written that was kind of cheesy, but it was kind of the Meantime riff, but with like a sampled guitar. I was like, nah, 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 nah. And I went to Elliot. I'm like, Elliot, I'm really good at that kind of thing. Maybe I should come up with something. So this amazing drum icon that I grew up loving, Ricky Murata, was the drummer. So he and I were in that giant scoring room, and Michael Mann walks in. And he's like, he's an amateur pianist. And he asked me, he's like, oh, that's interesting. And he goes, it reminds me of Nine Inch Nails. And I was just like, right, yeah.
Yeah, fuck you.
I mean, yeah. Like, I kind of, yeah, okay, never mind. I'm like, okay, And then he goes, what key are you in? And I'm like, oh, here we go. And I'm like, well, Helmet's modal music. I didn't describe it to him, but I was like, I guess if you had to say, it'd be in D minor. And he goes, let's try A minor. So imagine you're like going da 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 dun 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 dun. It's like, and then he's like, how about E minor? I was just
You're like, dude, shut up.
it was really funny, He was very nice, but then, like I say, that Tom Cruise movie Collateral, like 10 years later, he remembered me. It was a different composer, James Newton Howard, but yeah, all fun stuff. So he's a great director. I have one quick story because we have other people, but he's kind of the classic. Elliot said he wrote 3 scores for Heat. Like he's like a classic he overdoes stuff. Last of the Mohicans, he said, I can't get my cameras in here. The Indians are supposed to attack or whatever. He's like, yeah, chop down all these trees, and they get all these trees chopped down, like clear cutting, whatever. And the Indians and he gets in there. He's like, there's no place for the Indians to hide. Get some potted trees and bring some trees. And I was just like, that's just so fucking Hollywood.
I remember watching a documentary on Heat, on Collateral actually, and I remember him obsessing about the lights that were coming out of the floorboards hitting Jamie Foxx's face in those scenes. Total obsessive compulsive.
I'm gonna use this and do this in silver. It just looks better, okay? Because the gold just doesn't show up.
Sure, yeah, no problem.
All right.
Cool. And then, so Jess, you're going to be the next one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Awesome. Yeah, great question, Christian. That was awesome. That was fun listening to all that. You had great questions from someone who interviews. I really enjoyed that a lot. That was really awesome.
Ashley did
a skateboard magazine, and I interviewed lots of people. So
Nice.
Cool.
Hey, I picked up on something there. There you go. Check that out. That looks awesome. I love that.
Good, right? Cool.
That's awesome.
Perfect. Cool. So, Jess, you are up next from Madison, Wisconsin. Hi.
Good. How's everyone? Madison, Wisconsin. It's funny because Paige mentioned. What's that?
Nice.
I'm a Packers fan. Hi.
Don't say that to Paige. Don't say that to Paige because he's a 49ers fan, and I wasn't going to touch on that, but.
I've been talking shit to him for years. It's fine.
This season is kind of a disaster, so it's.
Well, after the NFC Championship game that I turned off halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah, that was rough for you guys.
I had you guys by 7 points in the Super Bowl. I said no way. So we don't have to go on that anymore.
That still hurts. Yeah, it's been a rough sports.
Yeah, well, my team did nothing to rectify that, so it's going to look that way again in January. So.
Yeah. Well, they need some
But yeah, it's funny. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and you actually talked about Butch Biggs. So You know, this is,
I love. Madison is a our drummer Kyle is a Wisconsin dropout. You know, he says I like playing there because his family always shows up, and I like to bring. I was like, Mr. Stevenson, how much money did you spend for your son to get stoned and drunk in college for 2 years? And they're like, Kyle's just like, shut up, Paige.
yeah, Oconomowoc, right? Oconomowoc, I think he's from.
Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you guys 2 years ago with the Local H tour.
What's the name of that? Remind me the name of the club.
The High Noon Saloon.
High Noon. Yeah, that's a fantastic venue. You know, really.
That was a lot of fun, and you guys were great. And we chatted a little bit after that, and I'm just going to touch on a little bit more because the first time I've seen you, it was 1992, and it was way up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan at NMU University, and you opened for Faith No More on their Angel Dust tour.
We also did an interview with Duff, that very cute girl from MTV, and I remember somebody played it for me recently, and they had that fuzzy slipper thing on the mic, and I grabbed it and did something stupid, of course, because I'm an idiot, and it was fun. Marquette, right? Marquette?
Yeah, Marquette. Yeah. And to this day, I tell people, of all the shows I've been to, that's still my favorite show. Like, I'm not joking. I'm not just saying
that was special, man. That's beautiful up there.
Because it was it's an old hockey arena, and it was 1992, and Unsung had broke like a month before on MTV.
Yeah.
And we were going up, and we picked up a buddy of ours, and he actually had an ankle tether on because he was in trouble with the cops and stuff. But he's like, fuck it, I got to go see this show. And so we basically take him in the ankle tether, and you guys are playing, and he's crowd surfing. You can see the ankle tether.
Oh, that's
going over. And that was the last time any of us ever saw him. Like,
wow.
I think he got locked up after that. But he's like, I'm not missing the show. I got to go see it. But
that's funny.
It was such a cool era. Like, there was a lot of, I talk about mosh etiquette. It seemed like that was like a real peak of like mosh etiquette. And like three-quarters of the hockey arena was a pit, and it was the coolest people, because if you fell, you were immediately helped. There was nobody being a jerk.
Yeah,
you guys tore it up, and Faith No More tore it up, and I tell people it was so cool.
I have fond memories of that show for sure. It's funny that several people have referred to that show. They were like, I saw you guys. I was like, geez, that's so weird. This girl actually told me, she was like, I was in high school and met this guy that was going into the military, and so I wanted to pleasure him before he went to, and I was like, what? Like, and she's like, yeah, well, I went in the bathroom with him, and I was like, great, like, okay, thanks for the story. I'm not kidding you. It's like, so you, okay.
Oh. Funny.
It's fun. It's amazing. Just amazing. That's part of what I love sitting on the front of stage after shows is just people. There's so much history now with the band, 31 years and I have one guy, I'm actually writing a piece for the 150th anniversary of the Christian Brothers High School in Memphis, the oldest high school orchestra in the country. And this guy, the band director, is a guy named Patrick Bolton. He broke his nose at a helmet show, a brutal break, and had the scar across the bridge of his nose for the next like 15 years. I'd see him at shows, and it looks really good now. He's had surgery. I actually saw him at the New Orleans show on the 30th anniversary tour, but it's just really weird how, history and how the relationships you build with people that you meet on the road. And here I'm writing a piece for his high school orchestra, so
that's really cool.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty awesome touring.
Yeah. I just think about that in you, because that was the point when the momentum was starting to pick up, with you and your band, and it must have been really special in that window.
Because I'm kind of a underground indie punk rock asshole, and I was kind of a snob, and I was like, what, this major label thing, man, I don't know, like, it's weird, like they got like Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch and Rico Suave and stuff, and I was like, no, and then we're like, and I'm like, Faith No More, like, aren't they on MTV? I don't know if I want to play with those guys. And first day we're in Omaha, and Omaha, I believe, was the first show, and Patton comes up with a milkshake. He's like, hey, what's up, man? I was like, okay, this guy's on MTV, but he's really nice, and we're still friends. I saw him in Santiago, Chile, a couple of years ago, and it's like I saw him the day before yesterday. He's
That's
like, I love
awesome.
you, man. I love you. I hadn't seen him in 10 years, and it's, you know, you can develop these weird biases, you know, being, and like, yeah, I mean, you're a young man and you get these, you know, this holier than thou. I call it indier than thou bullshit. So now that I'm an old man, I just take people for the face value, and it's like, hey, great human beings, really great bunch of guys. We're looking forward to, we're going to tour again with them. So
Are you really?
we,
Oh, wow.
It was supposed to commence in August. We were supposed to start. So
That's right. I think we were looking at the Chicago. We were going to go to Chicago to that show. So
which so is yours? Is this your pick, Jess?
yeah, I'll take that one.
Okay, and it says Helmet Rocks?
Why don't you put Go Pack Go just for me?
Oh, oh God, you hurt me. Oh,
That's
You can
so
put
funny.
you can put your own spin on it if you want. Okay.
Well
That's
played.
great. Well, that's very funny, Jess. Way to end it on a really funny note. So Go Pack Go. Thanks for picking that up for you and me. I appreciate that. So just some announcements. Paige has a new ESP guitar coming out in a few weeks. So that's really exciting. So I want him to mention that, just a little bit, a few little things about that. And if anyone's interested in any lyric sheets, merch, anything like that, that's available at helmetmusic.com. So he's been going to the art stores, getting like really cool paper, really cool markers, and spending a lot of time.
let me talk real quick about the Progress Humanity. When COVID hit and we're all kind of trying to figure out ways to keep busy and not just sit on our asses and drink beer, as my niece said, either we become drunks, hunks, chunks, or monks during this time. And so I got this idea to do lessons because I've been asked for a million years, and I hadn't done it since I lived in New York City. So I got my friend Tracy Wiedemann involved, tour manager extraordinaire, from like Ziggy Marley to Manson to, REO Speedwagon and whatever. And so I'm doing these lessons. I'm having an absolute blast. It's been really fun. And then so we reissued my Paige Hamilton distortion pedal. And Dennis was like, you should do videos where you show people how to play helmet songs because everybody plays them wrong. So that's kind of one slant. The other thing, Tracy said, these people in Washington, D.C. they have a group, I guess you call it a group, what I call it, Progress Humanity, progresshumanity.org. It's about ending global conflict. And they said they'd love, I'm now going to be an ambassador for them and a spokesperson. And we're doing a PSA with that guy, Mario Lopez, who was on a TV show that was way after my time called Saved by the Bell. Yeah. So they said we want to do a worldwide recording of the song "Let It Be." So when the inauguration, right around the time of the inauguration, we're going to release this song. So I did a recording of it with a bunch of friends of mine because the cause is so great, and now they're using it for the template for the whole world for everybody to. So it's a really, really great. They're great people. ProgressHumanity.org. And it's just about ending global conflict and like nonviolent solutions to things. And they've done, one of the great things they've done is create a country by acquiring land in the Congo for the pygmies who've been cannibalized and held as slaves. And just, it's a really, really thing. It's something I'm very proud of. So that'll be released. You can hear my heavy metal ass singing a beautiful Paul McCartney song. So.
Hey, Paige, we've got like 15-20 seconds left. So
cool.
Did we get that signed and held up?
Which, what?
For Jess, the autograph?
Yeah, just wanted to make sure we got that held up. So sign it real quick, hold it up.
Sorry. I have one more picture here for Zach.
Yeah, he was from the autograph that he didn't get on somehow.
Okay.
I
see, and Josh Hamilton.
Perfect.
Josh Hamilton in the corner there. Nobody's there.
He's our video guy, so we're all good.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. I thought he used to play for the Texas Rangers too, Josh Hamilton.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
And the Cincinnati Reds. And the Cincinnati Reds, not just the Rangers.
Well done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Paul O'Neill. I'm a huge Paul O'Neill fan. Thanks. Yeah, that was awesome, you guys. Really fun, man. So cool. It flew by. I appreciate it. Stay safe, everyone.
Take
Yes,
care. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Paige.
Appreciate it. Yeah. See
Go
yous.
Ducks.
Go Ducks. All right. Can't wait.
Okay.
So Paige is off. I'll just text him. Okay. Cool.
And we're all off.
Thanks again,
was
guys.
awesome.
I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I got Morgan on the next one to go. So have a good day, guys.
Thanks.